If you hold XRP, this is going to be one of the important video you want to watch. Keep your eyes open, digest everything possible. Now let's start.
At Ripple, we enable governments and central banks around the world to create new, high-performance financial infrastructures built on blockchain technology. More specifically, we help governments build and launch central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs. They are
So that just showed you what they're focusing on at Ripple. Now everyone, whether it's a Bitcoin maxi or XRP guy, understand that Ripple the company is going to be one of the biggest institution in the world. Whether or not they agree on XRP, they do agree on Ripple the company. Great. And what are they doing? Now the question of what about XRP is answered here. So don't worry, we're going through that, right? So Ripple the company is going to be the biggest, and what are they doing? They are working for governments and central banks to build their monetary policy as an instrument, financial instrument, which is going to be the central bank digital currency. So now let's continue.
Our national currencies, powered by modern technology that is secure, centralized and scalable. And these CBDCs will enable central banks to implement their monetary policies in more efficient and effective ways. The Ripple team brings a wealth of expertise to every new CBDC solution, working with hundreds of financial institutions, policymakers and regulators. Our solutions facilitate billions of dollars in cross-border payments around.
So that just actually took you all the way through different central banks. Now just look at the illustration here. You can see okay, they are not focusing on one region, we know the reason, and they are actually focusing on almost all the other regions, highlighting okay, these central banks are working for their central bank digital currency, like India, China, that. They're actually going to come out with that soon. And they talk about thousands of financial institutions on Ripple, and all of them are going to be on the central bank digital currency. So as you continue, yes, they talk about private XRP ledger comes in, and that takes you to XRP. But is it just that? No, they actually give you even more highlight for XRP. How do they do that? Let's listen.
Institutions, policymakers and regulators. Our solutions facilitate billions of dollars in cross-border payments around the globe. Ripple's CBDC solution is based upon one of the most reliable, sustainable and open source blockchain protocols, the XRP ledger, XRPL.
So there you go. If you are holding XRP, that's great. Your thesis was correct. And those who are outside saying Ripple is a software company, I agree they're going to succeed, but XRP ledger is not going to get traction. Now, this is the reality. This is what's happening. And if you continue, now that's another twist there, right? But if you are an investor and you have XRP, let it be 10% of your portfolio or 80% of your portfolio. Next one is actually going to be mind-boggling, because that kind of touch into a lot of conspiracy theories, but I'll also put on my perspective about that too. Let's go through.
XRP ledger technology is perfect for CBDC blockchain applications. It's fast, with transactions complete in 2 to 3 seconds. It's easily customizable and programmable. It's reliable, having closed over 72 million ledgers since 2012. The ledger's native functionality for issuing digital currencies also reduces the need for bespoke programming and reduces risk.
So the billions of dollars being moved cross-border, it's using XRP, on-demand liquidity as they call it. And when we look at the central bank digital currencies, one thing which we all see that is this ledger has closed 72 million times without much of an issue. And if you look at all others, let it be where people are hyping like Solana, others. Now, you can't even look at Ether, so we'll keep that out. Solana was working, but they had a lot of issues. Cardano recently had one, but I would say okay, one till now, it's not a bad considering, Solana and others had major issues. Now you step back in because right now the focus is on ESG. The focus is on green, sustainable, carbon neutral, that kind of stuff. So if a central bank is going to build central bank digital currency, that would be one of the major point which they need to take before they go on to take one solution. So can XRP Ledger do that? What do they say? Let's listen.
Finally, the technology is sustainable as one of the first carbon-neutral blockchains. Each pilot is completely customizable and shaped to the needs of the central bank by an expert team. Here's how it works. Each nation's CBDC is hosted on a private version of the XRP ledger. Access by participants is granted by the administrator and...
Now, what was the missing part? That was the missing part. Central banks needed more privacy because this is an open source technology. And now the side chains, I hope that's what they're talking about in private ledger. XRP ledger, private. Not a new ledger with a new asset, where a lot of naysayers were saying like, okay, they would come up with a new ledger where it's not XRP, but you still have to use XRP ledger. That's the key, where your settlement is so fast, you're carbon neutral, you get all the benefits of that kind of a scalable system. And not much of other solutions can save this. Right now, you got everything together. And now, okay, this is Ripple, the company, saying this. It can be like, okay, they're trying to sell something. But when you actually go on to this for me is like one of the biggest stuff after that. Why? Because when Binance calls this, if you are noticing Binance in the last 3-4 months, see the Binance were traveling around the globe, talking to regulators, getting licenses, and they actually literally know. Like if you look at recent Davos event, look at like how many of them went there. Look at what the importance is being given to. Now we all know that Ripple is mentioned. For me, I would say like, okay, XRP Daily actually highlights like the recent one, but I would consider like this was a little bit earlier. Like that's still a great news, but I think we went through this a long back, right? We went through all these files, showed like this 2015 from Chris Larsen in World Economic Forum. And, we also know that Brad is here. Now, some would turn a little bit negative on that because with the perspective of World Economic Forum, not everyone has a good opinion. Whatever it is, they are on the board. Fine. So now when you actually look at these and Binance highlighting this, Binance is now thriving in a way. You can say like, okay, Coinbase is slowing down, they are laying off, Binance is hiring. They're expanding around the globe, they're getting fees on a lot of trades, and they are actually making new customers. And it's not only the retail customers, they are moving towards institutional adoption, and that's gaining pace. So if you look at that, and when Binance put this one out, that gets a lot of traction, and similar time frame, you kind of get this one. And I'm like, okay, this is not something small. XRP private ledger is a different story, but you can actually argue that, okay, there's a different price there. But I wouldn't actually go for that because it's the XRP ledger where it's settled. Even though you have privacy in your transaction there, the settlement happens in the center, the XRP ledger. So I think the asset which enters here for the settlement remains the same. And as of now, I strongly believe the price is the same. Fine. So that's one of the side for the macro. But now we look at, okay, Asia, where the demographics of the world is actually going to be next 10, 20 years. I think it's going to be the hot area for the economy around the globe. And they are right now doing this. BRICS president says Russia and India no longer need US dollar. Understand this. India is kind of the biggest kind of, now, yeah, China still has a lot of population than India, but if you look at the average age and the booming middle class, and then look at the slowdown in China, you'll understand like, okay, next 3 to 5 years, India is going to ramp up the pace. And with this tie-up in India, China, Russia, Asia as a developing side, it's going to actually gain more traction. And when we say they are going to look at rubles and yuan, okay, now that's really interesting. But this one got my eyes today while I was in the crypto Twitter. One, resigned Gary, fine. And then the next one I'm observing is like, okay, digital asset investor put this one out, like, okay, they took it down. And I'm like, okay, there's a lot of drama. Now, why is that happening? Because they want to actually slow down the technology, the disruption. They're not comfortable with this because they can't actually cut throat of the common people because the technology comes out, right? If you actually look at the phone, if you remember, 10 years back when you are sending a message, you were being charged. Now you have WhatsApp, Facebook, do that free instantly. And you don't have to, go check the tariffs, right? That's different. Now, then we are looking at the usual stuff for at least last 6 months and next 6 to 12 months. I think this is actually going to come praise for impact. Maybe you have a little bit of room here because when I'm looking at this, I'm still staying on my thesis here. Right now, we are talking about this on a regular basis. So you need to understand if dollar is slowing down and going back down to this level, and it happens to break this level, now that's really bullish. When you see the stock market slowly bouncing up, understand this, for stocks to do this, raise last couple of days and then go raise this one, most likely there is a gap here which is to be filled. Great, so you're going to still continue higher a little bit. So stock market is going to continue higher at a time when the dollar is easing. That's actually a good sign. Then you go on to the indexes. You actually look at like the index. Okay, it's actually testing this range. Great. Now it's going to retest that level. So if it happens to break this here, that for me is a great sign. But if it does not do that, you're actually going to slow down, come back down or consolidate here. But for crypto assets in general, you're observing like, okay, the market is now making a base. You go look at crypto. This is what you observe on a weekly. This is what you observe on a daily, a 3-day chart where you can actually argue that the price is still at the bottom, just below the moving average. It's not actually going ultra bullish. We all agree on that perspective. But when you actually come here and lay this out and ask this question like, okay, are we breaking higher? Are we staying there? There is a lot of potential that we are breaking higher, we are bouncing slowly, but we can't still say like Bitcoin is going to be the biggest ROI gainer from here because I don't actually see that coming. But if you actually look at Ether or the altcoin market in general, you get that idea, right? You had that breaking higher, you had going to actually retest this level, which you could not break last time you went up. But when you actually tried to break that, the technical side of it actually showed some negativeness or the market was slowing down. Then you broke lower, you came back lower. And right now when you're observing like the market is bouncing, first question, okay, you go back and see like how much the market dropped, 25%. So historically, that level is not a bad sign. You actually make double bottoms kind of at that range, 25-28% of a drop. So that itself is a big drop. It's not a small drop. But what happens is in crypto, we see 20-50% drop every now and then. So it's, kind of normal for us here in the crypto market. So now when you're looking at this and saying, okay, there is a possibility you're going to bounce and retest $2,000, keep in your mind that if you are able to break this, retest, consolidate, and bounce, now that changes a lot in macro. You have this pattern which we are breaking this one to the upside. That for me is like, okay, dollar is slowing down, assets are actually going higher, and on the macro side, this is getting a lot of support. Let me show you what I mean by that. So when you look at this, you can have two opinions. Now, even if you go and hit your own mom, there will be two opinions. That's the world. But here, if you look at this, people in this province will actually get money sent to them today. Okay, so that means this is happening now. So this is like July 15th. So, once you give money to see that in numbers in inflation and others, it takes a little bit more time and it's going to come. And then this one, which is not that, old, it actually shows like another province is actually going to do the same. So right now when you're looking at all this, literally it means governments and central banks are now having issues. They printed a lot of money prices are skyrocketing because they increase the supply of cash. Fine. Then we have issues, supply chain issues, war, the oil price going up, all those issues. Now, that being said, once the free money is starting to go back into the people, it will end up at the top end. It will actually go back up. Why? The financial education is not there. And we know that, it's actually going to happen today, tomorrow, whenever it is going to happen. So if you are here watching this, understand this, you need to know what is coming. Imagine the dollar is going to do what you anticipated. Great. It's going to drop. Crypto is going to go wild. Great. What are you going to do with it? If you do a 10x, 20x, 50x, whatever in crypto, don't just go and buy a Lambo, whatever you want like that, because the next 6 months to 12 months or even 15 months is actually going to present you a lot more opportunities. I strongly believe that. Imagine, crypto is going to do that wonderful 50x run, 100x run, and then what happens? We drop 80-90%. It may not happen in a day or two. It will take some time. But if you want to re-enter the market, you need patience. You need to stay out and re-enter. Now, if you're looking at different market like stock market or real estate market, in that time frame, you are going to observe opportunities. And for you to seize that, you need the capital. Now, I'm not saying after 5 years of waiting, when the 50x comes, don't spend anything. I'm saying it's okay, but be organized and make sure you're not overspending on depreciating assets. Great. So that being said, if you are receiving value for your time, please do hit that like and subscribe button. And when the market goes up, if you are looking for alerts on a breakout or to know which asset is actually looking good, preparing for a breakout or a retest and bounce and the opportunities associated with that, and you want these kind of alerts on our proper timing, look at the Patreon. The link is given in the description below. So guys, I'll meet you on the next video. Bye.